everyone. I'm Matt Williamson at Williamson NFL. The game just ended. Mercifully, it just kept getting worse and worse. Second half was a miserable display. Getting out-coached, out-efforted. Couple injuries affected the Steelers way more than they should have. Defense is really sad, to be honest with you. I mean, it is hard to get excited about anything on the defensive side of the ball. And I've gotten away from doing this somewhat on these immediate post-game shows, but I think it's really telling when we reflect on the halftime stats versus the final stats. So I'm going to start there. If you remember, this game was 16-6 at the half. Rodgers was 11 for 15, 102, touchdown, no interceptions. Love was playing well, 13 of 18 for 146, touchdown, no interceptions. Warren was pumping it out pretty good too. 10 rushes for 50 yards. He had a catch for 0, but no biggie. And they're bottling up Jacobs. 5 for 16 and 2 catches for 10. That's exactly the formula you're looking for there with the running back production, right? Metcalf had 3 for 17 and a touchdown at the half. Kraft was already blowing up, 3 for 49 and a touchdown. Green Bay only had 1 sack at this point. Steelers had none. But the first downs, Steelers 10, Green Bay 8. Third downs, the Steelers only 1 of 5. More on that in a minute. But at this point, the Packers were only 0 of 4 on third down. So there's only 1 third down converted in the entire first half. Steelers had run 31 plays compared to 25 for Green Bay for 178 yards compared to 165 for Green Bay. So Green Bay was averaging 6.6 yards per play, which is a lot. Steelers at 5.7, not bad. Again, first half. But rushing yards overall, 81-19. Steelers in the first half against the best run defense in the league and a really good Josh Jacobs-led running attack. That's great. Time of possession. Steelers had 17:48 compared to 12:12. Okay, now we're talking. Penalties were a bigger deal in this game than the stats reflect, but the Steelers had 4 for 35. Green Bay had 3 for 36. And a lot of Skoranek for his role. And a lot of Anderson and a physical nature to the offense. But I did write in my first half notes, no defensive splash. I'm worried. And folks, no defensive splash at all. And what I mean by that is takeaways, sacks, etc. And no matter what the offense does almost, it seems like it's becoming pretty clear that when the Steelers don't get defensive splash, they don't win. They're so dependent on it, and teams know it. So now the final stats. In the game, they lost 35-25. Rodgers ends up 24 for 36, but only 219, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Okay. I mean, that's not why they lost, obviously. Love, 29 for 37 for 360, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. They did limit Jacobs, 13 for 33 and a touchdown, 3 catches for 12. I also wonder if he was 100% healthy or not. He played less in this game than I expected, to say the least. And then Wilson comes out and runs for 11 for 61, 3 catches for 26. Warren played well, but ended up with 13 for 62 and 2 catches for 11. Only 3 second half carries for Jaylen Warren. Metcalf was good, but he almost makes a lot of plays. And this has been true throughout his whole career. 5 for 55 and a touchdown. He makes plays, don't get me wrong, but there's always a couple that he doesn't quite make. You know what I mean? Kraft was incredible in this game. More on him in a minute. 7 for 143, 2 touchdowns. Watson comes out and has 4 for 85, his first game back. Ramon Wilson did do some good things. 4 for 74 and a touchdown. Sacks, -3. 0 for the Steelers. 3 for the Packers. 0 sacks. First downs, 16-22 for Green Bay. Third downs were a massive problem. They only converted that 1 in the first half. 1 for 10 on third downs. There was a lot of third and longs in this game. Green Bay was 5 for 12. They only ran 53 plays compared to 63 plays compared to 57 for the Steelers. but they still gained 454 yards compared to 295 and averaged 2 yards per play greater, 7-2 to 5-2. That's a big discrepancy, folks. A big discrepancy. Again, penalties don't necessarily tell. I'm not going to blame the refs. I thought it was a poorly ref game. Hurt the Steelers more than the Packers. But that's not why they lost. Steelers 6 for 65 penalties. Green Bay 5 for 47. Steelers only turned the ball over once. Green Bay didn't at all. But Green Bay did miss 2 field goals, which you guys know I count as turnovers. And their kicker didn't do as well on the not so great turf again. And in the end, despite dominating time possession in the first half, the Steelers only had 28-12 compared to 31-48. Again, numbers don't always tell a story, but there's a lot to unpack from first half to second half. And I got a lot of notes here.
Football season's finally here. Time to check out the latest odds, futures, and win totals on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Think the Steelers are headed to the Super Bowl? Lock in your bets today. Whatever your game, FanDuel Sportsbook delivers the latest lines, futures, and specials, so you can join in on all the action.
For those of you who are doing real work in construction, in a warehouse, if you're a mechanic, if you want reliable, comfortable gear to help you perform well on the job, Brunt Workwear's got you. They have waterproof boots, safety toe, soft toe, pull on, or lace up, whatever you need. You can wear them to work, and if they're not right for you, send them back. I don't know any other brand doing that. Brunt was tired of the workwear brands out there cutting corners. You work too hard to be stuck in uncomfortable boots that don't hold up. So they built something better. Boots that are insanely comfortable and built for any job site. And for a limited time, our listeners get $10 off. Just head to bruntworkwear.com. That's bruntworkwear.com and use our code DK Sports, all one word, all caps, DK Sports, and you're good to go. After your order, they'll ask you where you heard about Brunt. Do us a favor and tell them it was from my show. Thank you so much. So the team, and especially the defense, especially 1,000 times the defense, just fell apart in the second half. And particularly after Elliott was injured. He's a good player. He's a communication guy. He's a glue guy. He is a really good tackler. But he's not Troy Polamalu and Ed Reed rolled into one. I mean, you lose Elliott, the wheels should not come off. And Green Bay scored on all 5 of their meaningful possessions in the second half. All 5. Halftime adjustments clearly favored LaFleur over Tomlin. And LaFleur's great, but this was a coaching clinic in the second half when Green Bay had the ball. This is yet another game of giving up 30 or more points. It's becoming one of the worst defenses in the league. And the defensive splash thing that I talked about, none. I mean, not even a tip ball or forced fumble that you didn't fall on. And even with the big blitzing, I mean, people have really dialed into, okay, you're bringing these 6-man pressures. And this team can't win without defensive splash, especially against a good team. But we saw more pre-snap issues, and I'm excited to watch the game. I have a feeling I know what I'm going to see, and I'm not going to like it. But a lot of guys having communication problems and not knowing what to do before the snap. And even more so after Elliott left. And man, the safeties looked so slow, especially after Elliott left. Defense just does not look well coached at all. It's just way too easy to game plan for this defense. Like right around the Minnesota game, like, okay, they're down, up blitzes, they're aggressive. Well, people caught on to that. I mean, they didn't have a counter to the counter. You know what I mean? A buddy of mine made a really good observation that it's really becoming a trend that the opponent's best offensive player every week is abusing this defense in the passing game. And folks, that's Kraft. Kraft is definitely their best offensive player. I warned you about him. You probably were like, whoa, he's even better than you thought. Yeah, he's great. And Chase the week before. But that's what this league is. Everyone's got stars. I mean, you can't limit the opposing players or opposing team's best receiver. Love was great, Jordan. Game looks like it has slowed down for him, but 20 straight completions going deep into the fourth quarter at one point. Open guys. I mean, it's too easy to complete passes against this team is the short of it. The secondary was terrible. I'm excited for snap counts. That's something we do tomorrow. But I think we did see less of Slay and more of Eccles. I'm absolutely in favor of that. But we also saw a lot of Clark, who's slow and is not a starting safety at this point. And the secondary in general just looks slow. And Kraft is awesome. But many times in this game, a tight end who can really run was outrunning the Steelers' defensive backs. I mean, he's 50 pounds heavier than a lot of those dudes. We'll get ahead of ourselves, but I couldn't help but think, imagine what the Colts offense can do to this defense. Colts offense is the best in the league that doesn't have any weaknesses that are destroying everybody. That's who comes here next week, folks. But I will say the Steelers' run defense, and clearly that was a priority, Jacobs in particular, was much improved from last week. And I thought the D-line in particular did pretty well. They didn't have to run it all that much, though. Some other things, get away from the D. I mean, I don't know what good there is to say about the D. No splash, no consistency, bad alignment, not great tackling. It's all about the splash with this defense, and it has been for a while, and they're not getting it. But also makes me a little crazy that Tomlin refuses to go for it on fourth downs, despite knowing that your defense isn't very good. And there's two sides of that. I don't want to put a bad defense in a compromised situation by not getting on fourth. Okay, well, they're going to let up points no matter what. And good thing, Bosworth was phenomenal in this game and great as usual. But you play for field goals in this league, you get beat. Especially when your defense is going to let up points. They let up 30 almost every game now, especially against good teams. There were certainly some dumb penalties by the Steelers in this game, some stuff after the whistle. I talked about how bad they were on third downs, but there were some thirds and very longs that this team and this coaching staff just isn't going to be engaged in, to be honest with you. I talked about it with Warren, but very, very little second half running by the Steelers. They also barely had the football, but 3 carries for Warren in the second half. But I don't think the Steelers offense is really to blame. I mean, it's pretty solid performance overall against a good defense. But one of my complaints was very little downfield passing. I thought we'd see a little bit more than that. And I think that they were living in their fears a little bit with pass protection. And I told you guys going into the game, I thought the Packers corners were the weakest position on their team. I would have liked to see them attack corners a little bit more. But Warren played well. Rodgers played well. All in all, I don't think the O-line was terrible. We've got 2 games in a row now of progress from Ramon Wilson. More trust of Rodgers and more playmaking from Wilson. That's good. But 2 injuries shouldn't do so much to this team. And I talked about the Elliott one at length. Does that mean you should consider moving Ramsey to safety to get Clark off the field? What's going on with Peppers? But then that means more Slay instead of Eccles. Who's your best 4 defensive backs if Elliott's going to be out for a while, which it sure looks like? Porter's one of them. Ramsey's one of them. But in what capacity? Who's your best 5? And that's where things start to get real hairy. I mean, and Ramsey's not super fast now at this stage either. And it's more about, and speed's a problem, but that's not the only problem with the secondary. But it also hurt the team, I thought, when Siamalu went out, because Anderson's the obvious replacement for him at left guard. And then all of a sudden, there's no more of the jumbo package. And I don't think there's another O-lineman on the team that you just insert into the Anderson role, So is that gone now? It left after the Siamalu injury in this game. I mentioned this slightly, but last couple notes I have here are a little broader. didn't think it was a very well officiated game. And it hurt the Steelers more than the Packers. Especially early in the second half is when the wheels were coming off and the refs did not help the Steelers' cause. If they would have been a little cleaner on things or better, maybe it goes a little better for the Steelers. But by no means am I blaming the refs for the loss. I mean, the better team won, and that's very clear. Last little nugget, I was not at the game, but it's pretty clear that was a lot of Green Bay fans in the stands. And from what I understood, the price of tickets for this game was very, very high. So I'm sure a lot of you listeners, and I'm not blaming you, do whatever you want with your money. I mean, sold your tickets for a nice buck, but a little bit embarrassing look as a Pittsburgher, especially late in the game when they're controlling the environment. But just wanted to throw that out there. But hey, if Steelers win, it probably sounds a lot better, and Renegade and all that good stuff and terrible towels. But the bottom line is I think Green Bay's really good. I think Green Bay is a Super Bowl contender. And I don't want to say the Steelers aren't good. They stink, kill everybody, fire everybody, burn the place down. But they're in a real predicament right now. And this defense is miserable. And I'm not quite suggesting you do a Matt Canada deal with Austin, but something needs to change on defense, to say the least, especially considering your investments. And right now, the Steelers are not a good football team. I mean, they're not alone in that. They're not one of the worst teams in the league. And it's crazy that you can kind of count on the offense to be productive every week. And the defense is horrendous. So that's where they're at. As you know, when I do one tomorrow, I'll have a different tone. And I'll investigate things more. But this is a tough one. And I can pretty much promise you I'm not going to pick them to beat the Colts. And I don't know about the Chargers in 3 weeks, but it sure looks like a 3-game losing streak is very possible, as could even be a 4-game losing streak. The Ravens won today. They're far from dead. Bengals lost today. I think they are dead. But things are, you're losing your grip, to say the least. All right, everyone, take care.